Hey guys, it's me, Tortilla, and welcome back for another tasty treat. On this episode of Tortilla, I will be teaching you how to make a super simple and seriously cheesy lasagna. Now, I know that most people already know how to make a homemade lasagna, but it's one of my favourite dishes, so I'm going to do it anyway. Let's crack on. So, as you can see over here, I've got a saucepan on a high flame with some vegetable oil in there, and I'm just going to brown off 1 kilo of 5% fat lean beef mince. Now, you don't have to go for the lean 5% fat beef mince, but it's just a healthier alternative to full fat beef mince, I suppose. So now that I've got all of my beef mince in my pan, I've turned the flame down just slightly because I don't want it to get too hot and to burn and stick to the sides of the pan. I'm just going to stir it gently and occasionally until all my beef is cooked nice and brown. So once you've fully browned off your mince, we're going to strain it through a strainer. Remove all of that excess fat, and then we're going to return the pan to the heat. Now we've returned our pan to the heat, I've got it on the smallest ring and on a low flame. I'm going to add 2 chopped leeks, or you can add 1 large diced white onion. Then once you've added the leeks and they've started to cook and sweat down, we're going to add 3 cloves of chopped garlic. Now you've begun to give your leeks and garlic a bit of a stir and they're sweating down and cooking nicely, we're going to add 3 chopped courgettes. Here I've just quartered some courgettes and sliced them thinly. You don't have to add the courgettes, they are optional. I just like to add a lot of veg to really bulk it out. And once again, I've started my recipe in a pan far too small for what I need. So here I go, transferring my leeks, garlic and courgette into a bigger pan. Now that my vegetables have started cooking properly in a bigger pan, I'm going to add a punnet of mushrooms. I've just quartered these. Before we go ahead and add any other ingredients to this, we're just going to go ahead and add a shake of salt and pepper. And then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of tomato puree. And you want to mix that in thoroughly. And then I'm going to add just a small amount of freshly chopped rosemary. Here, I got it straight from my garden. And some freshly chopped parsley, also straight from my garden. So now that our tomato puree is mixed in really well, along with our herbs, we're going to go ahead and add back our beef mince. Then you're also going to want to make sure that that is also mixed thoroughly. Now that you've mixed this beef mince into all this deliciousness, we're going to add 125 millilitres of red wine. And then we're going to add 1 jelly beef stock cube to 500 millilitres of boiling water. You're going to let that dissolve in there. We're going to add that to our pot. And then for one of our final ingredients, to the meat sauce part of our lasagna, we're going to add 1 tin of 400 millilitres of chopped tin tomatoes. And we're going to add a couple of fresh bay leaves. Okay, these aren't fresh, I bought these from the shop. But we're going to add a couple of bay leaves into our pot. Okay, so that's about 4 of those. Push them in gently. We don't want them to break and fall apart. We just want them to flavour the mince. We want another shake of salt and pepper. A gentle stir through. Then we're going to add a lid and let that boil and reduce for around 20 to 25 minutes. Keep checking on it occasionally and giving it a good stir so that it doesn't burn and stick to the bottom of the pan. While our beef is simmering away nicely and is becoming really nice and tender and reducing to this beautiful, rich, meaty deliciousness, we're gonna make a start on our bechamel white sauce for our lasagna. So for that, we're going to need 75 grams of unsalted butter. And we're just gonna melt that. So I'm melting our 75 grams of unsalted butter low and slow, because the slower you make a white sauce, a cheese sauce, whatever it is, the better it is. So you want a good result, you want it to be rich, thick and creamy, so you take your time and make it really tasty. But now that our unsalted butter has melted, we don't want it to burn. So now I'm going to add an equal amount of plain flour. So 75 grams of plain flour. And we're going to mix it together to make our roux. Now that you can see our roux has formed, we're going to slowly add 500 millilitres of milk. Now I'm using semi-skimmed milk just because it's a personal preference. You can use whatever milk you want to use. But like I said, slowly, bit by bit, we're going to add our milk, give it a stir, and let it all combine. I apologise for that. Anyway, excusing the dog for a moment, like I said, low and slow until your roux becomes a lovely white sauce. And you want to make sure you cook all of the flour out because you don't want it tasting floury. You want it to taste like a nice white sauce. So keep whisking until it's nice and smooth. So for a traditional lasagna, this is your white sauce complete. But for my lasagna, I'm now going to turn this white sauce into a cheese sauce. To do that, I have 125 grams of grated cheddar cheese that I'm just going to throw in and melt into my white sauce. There you have cheese sauce. Now adding the cheese to your white sauce will make your white sauce a little bit thicker. So just to loosen it up a bit and make it a bit more thinner, we're going to add just a splash more milk. Not too much. Now to add just a tiny bit more flavour and a bit of colour to our white sauce, cheese sauce, we're going to add half a teaspoon of English mustard. And of course we're going to add a shaking of salt and pepper. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a bit of a non-traditional white sauce, a non-traditional lasagna in general. So the cheese and the English mustard are optional in your white sauce. But as always, a list of ingredients are listed in the description below. Honestly, this kitchen smells divine. You don't know what you're missing out on, guys. Trust me. when I say that. Our beef sauce is done and our white sauce is done. So now it's time to grab yourself a pack of lasagna sheets, or if you fancy, make your own, and a nice oven-proof dish. But first, you've got to go through the beef mince and pick out your bay leaves, because trust me, you don't want to be biting into those when you're digging into your lasagna. Not very pleasant. This is where it can get messy, so let's hope it doesn't. Grab myself a spoon, grab my oven-proof dish, grab a nice spoonful of your meat sauce. So we're just going to put 3 of those on the bottom here, and then we're going to evenly spread that out the bottom there. Once you've done your first layer of the beef mince on the bottom, we're going to add our pasta sheets on the top. And don't be afraid to layer them over each other, just like that. Then we're going to add a layer of white sauce on top of our pasta sheets. So you want to go meat, pasta, white sauce, meat, pasta, white sauce. This is very hot, I'm going to have to put it down. Here you go, you can see that I've covered my pasta layer with the white sauce evenly, and it's looking delicious. So now I'm going to add more of the beef. Add another beef layer on top of our white sauce, like so. And then we go ahead and add some more pasta sheets. So here I've done a total of 3 layers of lasagna sheets in between the meat sauce and the white sauce. As long as you finish with the white sauce on top, we're all good. So you pour your white sauce on top. I'm going to have to make a little bit more because I clearly didn't make enough for this. You put your white sauce on top, and obviously you're going to evenly spread it over the top of your pasta sheets, and then you're going to grab a really decent handful of cheddar cheese and sprinkle it all on top. So this is my 3-layer lasagna, ready to go in the oven at 180 degrees for around an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, until you can poke a knife through it, a sharp one, and the pasta is nice and soft, and the top is golden and bubbling and delicious. So the reason I ran out of white sauce earlier is because I decided to make a little 2-portion lasagna just for an example, because I'm not eating the big lasagna until tomorrow. So it's okay, I just whipped up a little extra white sauce, and here is this beauty. So thank you for watching this episode of Leah Tortilla. I really hope you enjoyed this tasty treat. And don't forget to leave me a comment, give me a like, share this video, and if you really like what I do, then hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next week for more tasty treats. And don't forget, along with the list of ingredients, in the description below are the links to my social medias if you want to follow me anywhere else. Bye!